Hello everyone, this is Terry Honeycutt with my photo borders. Today I want to show a video to you on how I go about doing reflections. I've had a few people ask me from time to time how I do my reflections and some of the designs that we post. So I thought I'd take time to go through that and maybe help give you guys some pointers for those that may be struggling with reflections, just to kind of show you how I go about doing it. So I know there's probably different ways of doing it. Different methods, but this is probably the easiest method I found. So I chose this image for a particular reason, is because it's not a perfect image where the feet and the stick and everything is going to line up perfectly if you just flip it. I know there are some images, if you shoot the player straight on and their feet are side by side on the same plane, those are very easy. You just can flip them and everything just lines up perfect. But this one I'll go ahead and show you real quick. So I'm going to duplicate this layer on a PC. I'm going to do a Control J or Command J on a Mac. And that will duplicate it. And then I'm going to do a Control T, which is transform, or Command T. And I'm going to say flip vertical. And then I'm going to show you, if you notice when I drag this down, I can line the stick up, but the feet, there's still a lot of separation. If I line the feet up, then of course the hockey stick's not going to line up. So I know you could probably go in and say warp, and you could try to work with this if you wanted, but if you notice, even if I use the warp tool, it's still not going to quite line up perfectly the way we want it, because you're going to struggle with getting this to line up. So what I recommend is actually working on half of the image and then the left half and the right half. So let's go ahead and delete this. So what I want to do is go ahead and take half of the image. So I'm going to come up to my selection tool. I'm going to come down. I'm going to drag and select about half of the image. Once again, I'm going to do a Control C to copy. If you don't like using shortcuts, then just come up and say edit copy, go back to the menu, say edit paste, and you will accomplish the same thing. So same thing if you want to use the the menu, just go up to edit, transform, flip vertical. So that's how you would do it keyboard, but I'm going to go ahead and use shortcut keys throughout the video just to speed things up. So we want to go ahead and move this around. Like I say, I chose the move tool, and then we're going to line it up the best we can. So that's pretty close. So at this point, let's go ahead and zoom in so you can see what's going on. So we have to line this back end of the skates up to match. So we're going to come to edit, and we're going to use puppet warp. So if you notice, when I do puppet warp, it's going to come up with all these little crazy polygons. And we want to start dropping some pins, and I'm going to start by dropping one right here where it intersects. And then I'm just going to go around this layer and just start dropping pins. So what this is going to do is, this is going to allow us to anchor this down, so as we start moving, the rest of it is not going to be moving and going crazy on us. Alright, I'm going to stop right here. So I want to go ahead and just start in this area, because the goal is to try to get all this to line up. So I'm going to drop a pin here, and then I'm going to click on my mouse, and I'm going to drag up. So let's start here at this. Let's bring this up to match. This probably needs to drop a pin here, bring this back down. Let's go ahead and drop a pin. Let's line up this corner. And you'll just have to go through here and just start dropping pins, pulling it up. We got to get rid of this gap. There we go. So the other thing you notice is this is a little bit elongated now. So we need to make it a little more believable. So I'm just going to come here. Just bring this up to scale a little more. Drop a pin, just bring this up. Okay, I think that's close enough for imagination. So it doesn't have to be perfect. We just need to make it look believable. Let me see, I see a little space here maybe. Like I said, we're going to fade this away and make it a little transparent. So once it's all said and done, it should be believable. All right, that's good there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the check mark. And just for video purpose, let's go ahead and rename this to reflection. And we also want to drag this down one layer up under the model. There we go. So we have one side done. So now we need to do the opposite side. And because here we only have a skate to deal with, this should be pretty easy. So I'm going to do a Control C for copy, or Command C on a Mac, Control V to paste, or Command V, and Control T to transform, flip vertical. And if you notice, this should line up very well. I'm going to click on the Move tool. Let's move it up a little bit. There we go. Let's bring this layer down one. I'm going to rename it to Reflection. All right, so depending on how far you fade this, you might want to get rid of this little piece. So let's go ahead and create a layer mask. So to create a layer mask, it's this at the bottom of your menu. There's a little icon that looks like a square with a hoe in it. We're going to click on that. Like I said, we have a white mask, so we want to use black to erase anything. So we're going to click on the brush. We can just use a hard round brush. Here we go. And make sure we select black. It needs to be on top. So if white's on top, just flip it right here. And I'm just going to get rid of that little piece right here. There we go. And I'm not worried about this line or any of that crazy stuff, because once we fade it, you're not even going to see it. So, okay, let's zoom back out here. All right, so I want to take both of these layers, so I'm going to hold down my Shift key and I'm going to select both reflection layers, and we're going to merge these together. So you can just right mouse click and say merge layers. If you want to use a shortcut key, you can do a Control E on a PC, Command E on a Mac. That will also merge them. So once again, we need to create a layer mask, because now we need to start blending. So I'm going to come there and click on the layer mask icon. And when you do this, make sure that we select the mask and not the actual layer. So come here, click on the mask. This time we're going to use the gradient tool to fade this. And so we want to keep this top part of the reflection, and we want to fade it as we go down. So in that case, we need to go from white to black. So we want to flip this. White needs to be on top, black on the bottom. Come here. Always make sure that you have the correct gradient, so it's white to black. And then what I'm going to do is come here slightly above the skate. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and I'm going to drag down, something like that, just to create a nice fade. Then I want to do a blur, so I'm going to come to blur, Gaussian blur, and 5 pixels may be good. Let's try 8. Oh, sorry, let me back up. Actually, make sure you come back and click on the layer itself, not the mask. I was on the masks. Come to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. There we go. So that's a 5. This is what 8 looks like. That's pretty good. So it's all preference, depending on how much blur you like. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the opacity here. So I'm going to come down, start to make that kind of fade out, make it a little believable here. I don't know, that's about 30%. Like I say, it's all preference. So at that point, that is pretty much finished. If you want to see what it looks like on black, there you go. Makes a very nice reflection. It looks believable. Like I say, so when you're dealing with hard images, this is really the way to go. It takes a little more time, but if you want it to look really nice, I do recommend this. So one other thing I came across this week for shadows is, sometimes when I'm doing players with shadows, I'll use a soft brush and brush under the edges. But I found a nice little tool that you guys may be interested in. I'm going to show you just real quick. I'm going to hide this reflection. It may come in handy for certain scenarios. It's still in trial mode for me, but it's made by Alien Skin. It's called Eye Candy 7. And I'm going to say continue trial. I thought I'd show this to you guys. Let me back out a minute. Hang on one second. All right. So I'll make sure the model's selected. All right, let's do that again. Alien Skin, Eye Candy 7. Continue trial. All right, so what you notice here is it'll do some really cool reflections in certain scenarios where you need maybe some not reflections, shadows, where you need a nice shadow, a drop shadow or something. You can click on these and you'll see there's a lot of different perspectives, but the cool thing about it is you can get something kind of, so let's say you want something wide in the back, wide in the front. So let's say you want something wide in the back, which I think that's too wide. But the cool thing is you can come and drag down on these. And you can tweak these, which is really cool. So if you want to get something a little more laid down to the ground, then you can also just come and fade it out a little bit. And like I say, it's really tweakable here. So I think it's really cool that it can give you a really nice, cool reflection. So you probably want to take this, maybe line it up under the skate a little better. And let's say okay. So the only thing I dislike about it is it seems a little slow processing, and I'm on a pretty big machine and it's still slow for me. So that's the only downside I saw. The other negative I saw was it doesn't export the shadow out on a separate layer, which if they really wanted to make the software like totally awesome, they would have given us the ability to export a shadow to a separate layer. But what it's going to do is when it finishes here, it's actually going to merge the shadow with the model. And let me just show you here. I'm going to turn off the original model. But if you notice, it all stays together, and that may be okay, but it kind of doesn't allow me to really tweak the shadow anymore once I bring it into here. The only way you could really do it would be maybe to mask out the use this layer to maybe delete to mask out the guy, but I don't think that would work either, because then you're going to have a gap wherever we mask out. So that's the only negative, is it doesn't give me a different layer. But like I say, once I have it, if I need to transform, the shadow's going to stay there. So if you do use that software, I guess it's just critical that you get the shadow exactly how you want it before you export it. So if anyone figures out a way to export a shadow separately, please let me know. But I want to share that tip with you in case somebody wanted some shadow software. Be sure to check it out. And that's all I have. Thank you guys, and have a great day.